The shelter dog nobody adopted saved a stranger's life. Then everything changed. Animal rescue story. She had been waiting for months. She had watched other dogs get chosen, watched other families walk in, kneel down, clip a leash, walk out. She had sat at the front of her kennel and waited, with the patience that shelter dogs learn, because patience is the only thing left when everything else has been taken away. Her name was Sienna. She was 4 years old, a Labradoodle and Pit Bull mix, found as a stray in Campbell County, Virginia. She had no history anyone could trace, no family waiting for her, just a kennel, a leash, and a rotating cast of volunteers who all agreed on one thing: she was one of the sweetest dogs they'd ever seen. But Sienna's sweetness alone doesn't always get you adopted, and Sienna was still waiting. Then came the adoption event, and then came the moment that changed everything, not just for Sienna, but for a stranger standing in the crowd who didn't know he needed her yet. The Friends of Campbell County Animal Control had organized a routine adoption event. Tables, families, dogs on leashes doing their best to charm their way into a home. The kind of event that fills an afternoon with possibility and sometimes ends in exactly the kind of story you hoped for. Sienna was there. She had been to events like this before. She knew the routine. Walk nicely, be calm, let people pet you, make a good impression. She was good at it. She was good at most things people asked her of. And then she stopped being good and started being something else entirely. Something caught her attention. Not a squirrel, not another dog, not a child with a treat. Something in the air, or the invisible signal that passes between dogs and whatever is happening in the chemistry of a human body when it is about to go wrong. She turned away from the crowd. She walked through it. She found a man named Josh Davis standing at the edge of the event, and she sat down at his feet. She refused to move. Josh Davis has epilepsy. He told the Washington Post later that he had forgotten to take his medication that morning, a detail that seemed minor until it wasn't. Epilepsy is not always visible until the moment it becomes impossible to ignore, and Josh wasn't feeling anything alarming. He was just standing there. Sienna did not care what Josh felt. She knew something he didn't. She sat at his feet, she looked up at him, and then she gently placed her paw on his leg.
She had not been trained to do this. She was a stray from a county shelter in Virginia. Nobody had taught her what a myoclonic seizure looks like, or how to detect the neurological signals that precede one, or what protocol to follow when a human in a crowd is about to need help. She just knew. Before any human detected the signs, she was aware, the shelter later wrote. This wasn't a trick or a command. It was instinctive. If you've ever wondered whether animals understand more than we give them credit for, subscribe to this channel. We put out 3 stories a week that will keep answering that question. Hit the bell so you don't miss them. Josh's wife, Kristen, saw what Sienna was doing. She looked at her husband. She recognized the signs. She got him home, got him to his vagus nerve stimulator, and told the Washington Post that without Sienna's alert, without a 4-year-old shelter stray sitting down at a stranger's feet and refusing to leave, he very likely could have had a full-on convulsive seizure. Instead, he went home. He rested. He recovered. Think about the geometry of what happened. Sienna was at that event to get adopted. That was the entire point. Every shelter dog at an adoption event is auditioning in the only way animals can, by being present, by being calm, by doing the things that make humans reach for a leash and say yes. And Sienna walked away from it all. She left the group of families. She moved away from the handlers and the other dogs and everything that was supposed to be her chance. She found the one person in that crowd who needed her, and she sat down, and she would not move until someone understood why. She didn't get adopted that day. She couldn't have known whether turning away from the crowd would cost her. She did it anyway. We've always recognized that Sienna is unique, the shelter wrote afterward. But she reminds us that those we rescue are often the very ones who end up doing the rescuing. That sentence landed on people. The Facebook post spread. Local news picked it up. And then the calls started coming in. Families who wanted to meet the dog, who had sat at a stranger's feet and refused to leave until help arrived. Among those calls was a family from the Roanoke area. They had 2 sons, and one of those sons has epilepsy. When the shelter heard that, they knew.
Sienna went to meet the family, and whatever Sienna knew, whatever she had detected at that adoption event, whatever quiet signal had pulled her across a crowd to a man she'd never met, she apparently found it familiar in her new home, too. She has already adapted wonderfully, said a shelter representative. She found her special person and has stayed by his side. There is something that defies easy explanation in all of this. A dog trained from birth as a seizure alert animal goes through months of specialized instruction. She learns to identify specific scent changes, specific behavioral precursors, specific moments when a human needs her. It takes time and expertise and a lot of deliberate work. Sienna had none of that. She was a stray. She came from nothing anyone can fully account for. She spent months in a shelter waiting for someone to want her. And then, on an afternoon when she was supposed to be auditioning for a family, she walked past all of them to save a man she'd never seen before.